Like most of you, I have been sleeping on Supabase. I have always sort of considered it to be the open source, silly, lightweight version of Firebase. I've never really taken it all that seriously, and I never really looked all that much into it. But recently, I've been going ahead and working on putting together the stack for a bunch of different projects I'm working on this fall. I need database, obviously, authentication, I need bucket storage, and I need real-time updates and all these different things. And I looked at Supabase, and it had everything I needed. So I figured, might as well give this a shot and see how it is. I really didn't go in with that high of expectations. I kind of figured it would be a lighter weight sort of Firebase type thing, but it could be cool. And man, oh man, was I wrong. There is so much more here than I ever imagined. The developer setup and experience is incredible. The amount of features is insane. The documentation is incredible. And my favorite part about it, bar none, is that it is literally just Postgres. It is this giant, beautiful admin backend as a service thing built on top of Postgres. So you can use all the stuff they built on top of it, and you get access to all of this right out of the box. But it's still just Postgres. You can still go in there, and I'll show you in the code in a little bit in the example I built. All my migrations are Postgres. All my security policies, Postgres. All my table definitions, all of my storage definitions, everything is just Postgres. It can be managed in a CI/CD. It can be managed locally. It can just be handled the way you want to have a real backend be handled, which is as a database. So it's effectively just this incredible built-in tool set that you can put on top of your database to handle all of the different things that you will inevitably build out. And I was reading through their sort of documentation, their kind of thesis behind Supabase, and that's pretty much what they said. They were like, yeah, we just wanted to build something that's like every single enterprise will eventually have to build all this stuff out. You need an internal dashboard for your database. You need an internal dashboard for your users, for your storage, for real time, all these different things. And they just have it right out of the box, and it's really, really good. Way better than anything I'm going to throw together in a couple months. So let me show you why this impressed me so much. So first and foremost, as always, I built out an example app. This little example app is a wrapper around DALL-E. I figured it'd be cool to do something that's not a to-do app because we've been doing a lot of those, and I want to move into doing more real world-y or at least real world adjacent things. This is the kind of thing that you could definitely turn into a real world application. Obviously this isn't. Don't just make a DALL-E wrapper and call it a startup. That's silly. But in this case, it does make sense for this demo. So all we did is just wrap DALL-E, which is the image generation functionality of OpenAI. So we can go into our dashboard. We can see all these different images I've generated. We could generate a new one. And then let's just say a purple car crossing the Golden Gate Bridge. There we go. We hit generate. It takes a minute to load because we're actually making a call to the external image generation API, which usually takes a couple seconds. So we generate it, and then we'll go back and save it to our Supabase bucket, and then we get our image here. Nothing particularly crazy. There are better image generation softwares out there that are more optimized. This is just to give you an example of what this actually is. So with this sort of app out of the way, let me show you what we're actually doing. So this is a SvelteKit app. I'm going to be doing a full deep dive on this very soon. I've recorded part of it and done a lot of it. It's going to be a very, very, very long video where we're going to be going piece by piece, root by root, showing you guys exactly what we're doing to make this work, going through the authentication, the storage, the database, the migrations, everything and how it works. So make sure you're subscribed for that. That should be out this week. But for today, we just want to give you a high-level thoughts on this. So the thing that I think you need to see to really see why I'm impressed by Supabase and why I think it's something to really take seriously is the local environment setup. So one of the things about Supabase that I was initially thinking, this is probably going to be pretty bad, was the local development to production development experience, because we have to go through and generate we're working with a database here, and it's a SQL database, so we have to deal with migrations and database schema and all this different stuff. So setting up like a staging and a local and a prod environment and all this stuff, I thought it was going to be a massive pain. And that was one of the reasons why I was like, yeah, this is probably not going to be all that good. But their local environment is really, 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 really impressive. So let me show you what that actually is. We go into my project directory and we go into Supabase. We get all this stuff. The important part is this migrations folder, which just has this SQL file. So remember at the start when I said that Supabase is just SQL? Well, it really is just SQL. These are my table definitions. I've defined a profile table, an image group table, an image table, all this different stuff. And if we go into my database over here, you can see I have these three tables and all of their values correspond to this. The source of truth for my database, and this is running locally, by the way, is this migrations file. It is this local Supabase, which is committed to CI/CD, which means that setting up a local staging and prod environment is going to be trivial. And they have an incredible build tool and system entirely designed for this purpose. They have thought of how to use this in the real world. This isn't just a nice way to quickly spin up a to-do app in the cloud and then never really be able to make this real. And this is very real. This is what you would have in the real world, and I love it. So in here, we can go ahead and create our tables, and then we can set up row level security. That's an entirely separate conversation, but this is a really, really cool feature that you can do, because remember, Supabase is similar to Firebase, where there is a client-side SDK which you can activate and use to just build like a chat app or something, or run a bunch of features on the client and just directly query your database from the client side of your code, which is really cool, but obviously you need to make sure that's secured properly, and you do that via row level security policies. In this case, I just wipe them out because I'm using a backend and connecting directly using Drizzle actually as my ORM, and I'll show you that in the tutorial, to actually fetch stuff out of my database. So we're just wiping out all the tables here. Then we can also go ahead and do the exact same thing in our storage bucket. So again, we have all these services, but you have to set up policies and stuff for these services, but it's just SQL. That's what I want to hammer home here, is this is literally just Postgres. We go in here and we want to create our storage bucket. We just insert into our storage buckets table. We call it generated images, say the name is generated images. When we go over here, we can see within our storage thing here, we have our generated buckets. There it is. The image we just generated is, which one is it? Right here. That's it. That's the image we just generated. Bang. Saved into our storage bucket. And then we can also create security policies for our storage buckets. So I'm saying, okay, anyone can write to the storage bucket as long as it's in the generated images bucket. And then anyone can select from their own bucket, but they can't select from someone else's bucket. So all of these features are super, super powerful and will help you get actual production ready apps ready much, much, much faster. When we look at this sort of dashboard that we get, this is the kind of thing that you would end up probably building some semblance of for yourself. You would need to have some way to look at your database. You'd have to have some way to look at your users, all this different stuff. It's all just right here. And it's super easy to manage, super easy to deal with, and I really, really like it. So yeah, that's the quick and dirty of my thoughts on Supabase. I know we didn't go super deep into code or anything like that today. That is going to be for the deep dive, which I'm working on right now. Really want to make sure we get that video right, because that's going to be a very important one. It's going to have a ton of concepts on both Svelte and Supabase. So a lot of very exciting stuff there, but hopefully this sort of makes sense. It's an incredible sort of system, and I think the reason why it's so incredible is because of the local development capabilities. The fact that this is designed for and battle tested for the real world, not just smaller, quicker projects. This is the kind of thing I would be comfortable building a real app in. And in fact, I might probably use this to build some real apps. I'm thinking that this is what I'm probably going to use to build out the backend in an upcoming app I'm working on, because I need real time, I need storage, I need database, and I need users. I can get it all in one place, all for pretty reasonable pricing. It makes a lot of sense to me. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and I will see you very soon for the deep dive.